Welcome to Life in the Moose. Let's keep working on this barn loft office conversion today. Let's put a wood floor in there. And as you might expect, the wood I'm going to use for these floors, I got a bargain on it. Check that out. Here, let me show you. I just got back to the ranch last night from the coast, and while I was there, a local small lumber yard had a stack of this wood sitting outside discounted. This is 1x8 Douglas fir. Now this stuff is kind of gnarly. It's been around a while. It has mildew stains on it. It has some pretty good checks. Some of it's even rotten. So I'm going to guess that I'm going to have to throw 20-25% of this away. But that being said, even after I throw that 20-25% away, this is still going to be about 50% of the cost of regular Doug fir. So I got 60 pieces. 60 pieces of this, 8 feet long. They were advertising it for $75 a bundle for 30. So I said, how about if I buy 2 bundles and I'll give you 125 bucks. They said, okay. I said, okay, I'll take them. So we're gonna have to have a process here before we get these on the floor. I will cut these to length. And you can see this has a little bit of a check in the end. I'll cut those big checks out. I don't care if there's some small cracks, if you will, or small checks even in the middle of the board. I just don't want the ends blared out like that. So once I square the ends up and get rid of the checks, then I'm gonna run them through the table saw. Just put a fresh edge on each side of the board. And then when I get it ripped, I'm gonna do a little sanding. I know you're excited, aren't you? But before we start processing this wood, there's one more task we need to do. Well, at least one. I'll show you. Hey, what's shaking? I know it's a little bit early in the episode for that tomfoolery. Walls. As you can see, I'm not quite finished with the walls. Typically what I like to do is complete the walls, like get them all done, painted, everything before I work on the floor. But this is just a little bit different. Because it's funky, I don't know exactly how much wood I'm going to use. But if I have any extra, I'm going to use this Doug fir on the end walls as well. So that's why I want to get this on the floor, use up everything on the floor. That's going to be one species. And then I'll tell you about the plan with the ends a little bit later on. So the one thing I would like to do before I get this floor on is get this textured. I sanded it this morning and it feels pretty good. It's not perfect, but this is just a loft in a barn in the middle of nowhere. So it'll be fine. And in case you're curious, I just took a piece of sanding paper, I think it was 120 grit, and I put it on a block of wood just to make it nice and flat. And then I went over my lines. Basically what I tried to do is just make this edge cloudy. Once it's cloudy, it's usually pretty smooth to the touch, and then it's good to go. Texture. I know, this is a crapshoot. Seems like about 50% of the time, these don't work well. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I got 2 cans just in case. This is orange peel texture, and I'm gonna put it on very lightly. It covers up a few little defects, takes your eye away from that ultra flat surface. So I'm gonna do it. What the heck? 20 bucks a can. So once I get that on, then I will sweep up my dust from the drywall, and then I'll be ready to lay wood. Actually, I won't, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. So hold on, be patient. I promise we're gonna put this wood on the floor in this episode today. How you been, by the way? How's your knee feel? Feeling better? Or was it your shoulder? Oh, your back? I forget, it was one of those 3, right? That's what I was thinking. Okay, well, glad it's a little bit better. Well, now that we have those pleasantries out of the way, let's texture these walls. Okay, the floor is swept, but we're not quite ready to process that wood yet. We're gonna put some underlayment down. And by underlayment, I usually put tar paper. I don't have enough leftover tar paper to go down on this whole floor. So I'm gonna use this old house wrap. And this stuff was actually used to wrap other materials that I've purchased in the past. I just keep it. I figured I'm gonna have to cover something or I'm gonna have to protect something. So this is one of those instances. Rather than having moisture or water or whatever go between the boards and soak into the subfloor here, the particle board, now it can just sit on this wrap and probably just evaporate. We'll staple it down in a few spots and then we'll be able to process wood. What a process. Well, I ran out of the black stuff, but that's okay. I'm sure it'll be fine. Oh, I had a few people ask about this piece of plywood right here and why I didn't run drywall the whole way. Why is it plywood? This has been up for a couple of years because from about here on down, on the other side of this wall is finished space that is in the storage unit that we built. That storage unit is insulated, and that's why we put this plywood on at the time, so nothing would get in from the outside. So I think what I'm gonna do is just paint it the same color as the walls. Easy peasy. Okay, let's go process some wood. Finally. Let's start with about half a dozen of these and see how much we can get out of those. And the ones that are gonna have to be ripped all the way and too much waste, I'm just gonna set those aside right now. And then I'll cut what I can out of them later. I'm gonna try to get big chunks for this floor. Where do you want to start? I'm just going to screw the face of these boards straight down into the floor. They're going to be visible. That's the way I want it. I wanted black screw heads, so I'm using drywall screws. These I think are 2.5s. I'm sure 2s are fine. I have actually more 2s. I'm just using up some 2.5s I found. And because these are drywall screws and they're not self-tapping, I am going to pre-drill and countersink all of those so I don't split anything. And I think I can get by with 2 screws on each board as they go down. I'm going to try to aim for the floor joist underneath. If I don't hit it exactly, no big deal. I did mark my walls. This is true 1-inch subfloor under here, so there is quite a bit of meat there. Guess that's about it. Let's just screw them down. So if you want to start on that end over there, I'll start on this end and we'll be done in no time. What's that? All right. Well, I'll just do it. It's okay. Okay, I have 3 rows in the books. Looks pretty good. I like it a lot. It's rustic, it's weathered, it's rough, it's beat up. It's kind of like me. Oh, lordy. Well, one thing I forgot to tell you. When I put this first board down, or before I put the first board down, I put a chalk line, and I actually measured from the opposite wall, and I measured over to make sure that line was the same distance from the opposite wall. And then that is where I put my first board. So now I can just keep everything relatively tight and just move in one direction, and I'll be good to go. Another batch ready to go. If you were paying attention, you probably saw that I was not screwing every screw that I was supposed to. I'm only putting the boards into position and screwing enough to keep them there for now. At the end, I'll go back and pre-drill and screw them all. Seems to go a lot faster when I can do it all at once at the end. So that's what I'm doing. Like almost everything else in construction, the first 1 or 2 things you do of a task takes you a while. Now I think I have it figured out. This should go quicker from here on in. Well, let's get back to work. So it had been almost a month I was gone. So no landscaping, no maintenance, no lawn mowing, and it almost got the best of me. But look at this. That's what I'm gonna do after I'm done shooting this episode. Unless you wanted to watch. You don't want to watch that, do you? I didn't think so. By the way, what you're looking at is not AI. My voice is not AI. I had someone else comment. The last time I mentioned AI was about a year ago. Someone had commented that they thought my voice was AI generated. It's not, I promise you. This is me. When I was a kid, I used to stutter a little bit and I used to mumble, and long story short, I'm an English major, I'm a journalism major, so I learned to speak just a little bit better. But I promise you, no artificial intelligence. I mean, there's barely regular intelligence. What am I gonna do with artificial intelligence? After I put the chicken on the grill last night, I came back into the barn and did some measuring, and I determined that I need exactly 26 boards to finish this job. And I counted out the good boards, and I have 26 good boards. So I'm gonna have to do some trimming. I'm going to have to accept a few more defects than I did yesterday, but we're gonna get it done and it's gonna look good. So we actually found 26 boards that are good enough to span halfway the whole length of that room. So that means I'm gonna gang cut 13 at two different measurements, 91 1/4 and 92 1/4, if you're curious. This should be easy peasy and pretty quick, I hope. Man, am I glad that's done. Took me about 3 hours to do that. I've had enough sanding and cutting and ripping for one day. Let's get this stuff on the floor. So this is going to require 26 boards, and I took 6 of them, which is almost half of 13, and I cut them in half. That way I can stagger my joints, my seams. Seems like a good idea. Okay, well this floor is finished. Check it out. I'm happy with it. It's completely screwed. It's filled with holes and cracks and knots. Just like me. Who knew me and old lumber would have so much in common? Oh gosh. Well, I'll probably hit this with a coat of polyurethane, I think. I'm gonna do that in another episode. I'll probably do polyurethane and paint and oil on the wall. I'll probably do all of the finish surfaces all at the same time. I think I have 3 or 4 episodes left, and this thing will be finished up. What do you think? I think it looks pretty good. $125, not bad. And I had really 0 leftover good pieces. I have a few scraps I can use. A lot of birdhouse material. There's always birdhouse material around here. For 125 bucks, I'm thrilled. I'm happy with that. Yes, it was a lot of labor, but you know, without my labor, you wouldn't get a chance to see me work. So it's a win-win. Okay, well that's it. I'm out of here. Stay out of trouble, would you? Work hard, play hard, and until I see you next week, take care of yourself.